Hey there, data explorers. Welcome to today's Power BI session. Today we will dive into two important topics. One is the applied steps, and second is the battle of measure versus calculated field. It's all about making data magic happen in the simplest way possible. So, first, let's go ahead with the applied steps. So, in our last session, we have gone with Power Query Editor, which is a tool inside Power BI Desktop, and it helps us transforming our raw data into a meaningful data. And in our previous session, we have done some changes, like we have changed the column title, we have removed any extra or unwanted rows or columns, we have applied some filter condition, and we saw how we can split one column into two or more. So all those things we got the opportunity to explore. But now suppose I want to check what I have done in the past, or I want to undo or redo something, how I can do that. Here in Power BI, we don't get such options. So to fix it, we have a very good thing available with us, that is applied steps. So here in Power Query Editor on the right, you can see that there is a applied steps option. And if you go down, you can see that each and every change we have done, it is arranged in an ordered way, and everything is coming up over here. Whatever, any small change or any major change, whatever we have done, it's all coming up over here. So suppose I want to see that what is the column that I have removed. So here you can see that I have done removed column. So in order to see which column I have removed, all I needed to do is I need to go one step above. So I click on filtered rows. And now here you can see that column C or column 3 is now available, which was not there. If I go back to removed column, so now you can see that it is back. Now again we are not able to see column 3. So in case I want that column again and I want to remove this condition, what I can do is I can click on this cross icon. As soon as I'll click on it, I can see it permanently, which means any step that I have performed inside my data in order to transform it into a better way or in a meaningful way, and I think that I don't want that step anymore, I want to make any changes to that particular step. So each and everything is recorded here in applied steps, and based on our requirements we can work on it and we can make the changes based on our requirements. Okay, so this is the thing that I wanted to cover in Power Query Editor. And so for now we will be quitting Power Query Editor. We will be going ahead with Power Query Editor in our upcoming sessions, where we will have to make some changes in our data. We have to transform it based on the requirements coming up. But currently we will be focusing on our next topic, that is measures and calculated fields. So what it is, why we are talking about measure and calculated field. So it is like it is a very crucial thing to talk about, because suppose here we have exported a CSV file which was having 16 columns in it, but now I want some another column to be added in it. So what I need to do, shall I go ahead in the CSV file and add those columns over there and export the same thing again and do the transformation and everything again? No, definitely not. So in order to fix it up, there is a concept of measure and calculated field. So here in Power BI itself, I can prepare measure field and calculated fields. In order, if I have to make some calculated fields, in order I want to bring something like I want to merge two columns, or I want to concatenate some static field with a dynamic field, all such things I can do without going back to my CSV file and then making changes and bringing it back by exporting it or importing it, right? So before we go ahead and see what it is, let's understand that what is measure field and what is calculated fields, because they both help us getting the data, but it's not that both mean the same. So what is the difference? Let's go ahead and understand. So here you can see that I have put some differences between the measure field and the calculated fields, that you can go through and understand it in a better way. So the purpose of measure field is it performs aggregation on data, whereas in case of calculated fields, it creates custom metrics and calculations. So it works on both the things. Second thing is, if we talk about the type The measure is defined using DEX. DEX is data analysis expression. Whereas in case of calculated field, it can also be defined. It can also, please focus, also be defined using DEX command. It means you can get some data with the help of DEX command, but it's not that you need DEX command only in order to get any new column. Third thing is uses. Measure is used in visualization for dynamic calculation, whereas calculated field is used in visualization and data modeling. If we talk about the measure syntax, then it includes sum, average, count, min, max, anything like that we want to apply, we can do in measures. Whereas in case of calculated field, user defined formulas using DEX command. If I take some example of measures, then measures include total sales, average price. Whereas in case of calculated field, like if I want to calculate the profit margin or year to date sales, these can be covered in calculated fields. Now talking about the aggregation side, measure always performs aggregation, always. Whereas in case of calculated field, can include both aggregation and individual row level calculation as well. Dynamicity, measure change based on visual filters and slicer. The visual filter and the slicer, these are the two things on which the dynamicity of measure is dependent on. Whereas in case of calculated field, change based on data relationship and filters. Dependencies, measure depends on the underlying data model, whereas the calculated field depends on other fields and measures. Okay, to make it more clear, let's go ahead and create a calculate field and measure field in the table that we are having right now with us. So for that, let's move back to the Power BI desktop tool. And right now we are in report view, but in order to understand the measure and calculation field, we should go to the table view. That is the data view. So now we are in the data view. Okay, now suppose I want to generate a URL. Okay, a URL using the product ID. So what I can do is I will go over here and right click, and then I will say new column. Now it will take some time to load and give me the column. So here on top you can see that now it is giving me some option of adding that new column. So yes, here it is. So here it is. Yes. Now I want to create a new column. Like I said, I want a URL for it. So I will say product URL. I'll name it like this. And now I want to have some static value. So for the static value, I need to put it in double quoted string. So I'll say www dot, and then I want to concatenate the product ID. So what I need to do is I need to add an ampersand, which will help me to concatenate the data, and after that I need to put the product ID field over here. So product, as soon as I'll be writing product ID, I'll get the option to add it. So I'll go over there and select product ID. Again, I need to concatenate some static value. So I'll again add ampersand and then double quoted strings, and inside it I'll be writing .com. Okay, so now I will copy this also, because I need to explain you something in case of measure what will happen if I am going to do this. So now I will click on some other place or click enter, and you can see that the new column, which is the calculated column, product URL, is now visible in our table, which was not there. Okay, so now it will be acting as the normal table data, and we can use it wherever we want to in this particular file. Okay, now suppose I want to create the same thing with the help of measure. Can I do that? Let's go ahead and check. So again we will click on it, then we will do a right click and we will select new measures. Here I'll do a copy paste, but I will rename it URL, and after it I'll add M. So now you can see there is some kind of error that is coming here. So I will click on enter, and let's see what is happening. So you can see there is some error that is showing here. A single value for column product ID in table sales 2017 raw cannot be determined. This can happen when a measure formula refers to a column that contains many values without specifying any aggregation such as minimum, maximum, count or sum. So here you can see that we are not using any dex command. We are not using any aggregation things. We are just trying to concatenate things, which we have done with the help of a calculated field. So we cannot do this over here in case of measure. But now suppose I want to change it, and I will make another condition. So I will say, instead of this, you help me to count the product IDs, and then close, enter. So here the measure is created. There is no warning coming up. Now let's go ahead and see in the table if it is now visible. Oh, it's not visible here. It's like the calculated field we created, it is visible in the table, but the measure that we created, it's not there in the table. So where it is? So now let's go on the rightmost section, data, table, and here you can see product URL. This is the calculated field that we created, and product URLM. This is the measure that we created. So product URL becomes a part of our data. Okay, whatever data we are having, it becomes a part of it, and we can utilize it in every section we want to. But in case of measure, it works when we are going to run it, or it's like I can use it in my visualization at all the places, but it's not going to work same as in case of calculated fields. So now I think it's clear for us to understand what is the difference between calculated fields and the measure fields. Please let me know if in case you have any question related to this, or if it's not very clear to you. And definitely we will be using more and more calculated fields and measure fields in our upcoming session. So if in case we are having some unclarity over there, we can make it clear over there. So finally, this is a great job on mastering applied steps and understanding measures versus calculated field. You are now a data wizard in Power BI. Keep exploring and practicing the data world in your playground. If you really enjoyed this magical session, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more data adventure. Thank you so much.